Hello and welcome to A Polite Notice, a single-seater podcast. We're here today to yap about all things single-seater motorsports. Welcome to episode 2.
As we're looking forward to what the GPDA has in store for us, let's look forward now to the 24-25 season. There's been loads of announced team changes, drivers and staff. So Sav, you're going to take us through what's next.
So I think one of the biggest changes this year obviously started before the season even happened. Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari. I cannot name a more iconic duo besides me and Therapy, okay? I think Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari is like, I don't even know if getting married and having children would ever make me this happy, okay? So Lewis Hamilton himself, 7-time world champion, often held as the greatest driver of all time, and then Ferrari. They have been in Formula One since 1950, since the first Grand Prix. And fun fact, I actually learned yesterday when I was on the plane back home that they did not race in the first ever Grand Prix race at Silverstone. They did not race until 1951 at Silverstone. So Ferrari was not featured in the first Grand Prix de Europe. So we started with Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari for next year. He wants out of Mercedes, yay for him getting to Ferrari. So then that set off a crescendo. It set off a big shift in the grid because now we have to get rid of Carlos Sainz, and then so he has to go somewhere.
Girl!
Wait. I'll stop you right there.
Get rid? What are you
Thank
taking
you
him
so
out?
much.
Are you a sniper?
Listen, it's enough that Ferrari is not having him next year. That's what's sending me to therapy. You cannot just say that they're getting rid of him, okay?
He is going to an iconic British team
Williams!
with a rich history in Formula One.
With a blue collar that can actually suit me, finally.
Amen. Sorry, Savannah, please continue.
Okay, here's my thing. I use get rid of lightly because Carlos is a pay-per-drive racer, okay? That means Carlos does not have loyalty and has never specifically had loyalty to one team. And that's not bad. You go with the best opportunity. The same can be said about Lewis Hamilton, okay? He was at McLaren, then he went to Mercedes, now he's with Ferrari. The only thing is that Lewis Hamilton is Lewis Hamilton and Carlos is not Lewis Hamilton, okay? And that's not anything that's, I love Carlos, don't get me wrong.
You liar. You're lying to me right now.
You're breaking me, Sam.
No, I do, I promise.
You're breaking me into pieces.
But she doesn't love him as much as she loves Lewis.
Okay, that's right. Also, it's different between him and Charles because Charles grew up literally. If you had told me that Charles's mother had him in the Ferrari factory and he came out in a Ferrari racing suit, I would believe you. That man has never been anything but a Ferrari person. Like, it is in his blood now, okay?
Except for his stint at Alfa Romeo. If we just ignore the bit of time he spent at Alfa Romeo.
Okay, now listen. That's still technically Ferrari.
Wait, Becca has just made a wonderful statement that we should acknowledge right now. Becca, please again.
I'm fairly certain.
We're not acknowledging it at all.
Correct my memory.
We're actually moving past it.
Charles did not arrive in Formula One in a Ferrari car. He arrived in an Alfa Romeo, which is now a Sauber, which is gonna be an Audi. If he wanted to be in a Ferrari-run car, he could have sat in a Haas. I'm sure they would have taken him. They took on Nikita Mazepin. Why would they not take on Charles Leclerc? The Carlos slander will not be tolerated.
Okay, well, Mazepin had family money.
The Carlos slander will not be tolerated.
Nobody was slandering Carlos. I was saying facts.
You called him a paper driver.
He did not come up in a specific driver academy and stay with that team. He is a pay-per-drive racer. That is a fact. It's just like Daniel Ricciardo.
I wish you could all see Becca's face right now because it's priceless.
I feel like we've got it so off topic.
This is my new topic. But anyways...
We've just recorded a transition talking about team changes in 2024-25.
Can I just say, Lewis Hamilton was in McLaren, who went to Mercedes for, 13 years? Now he's jumping into Ferrari. So will he have loyalty to Ferrari? Sorry to the Lewis fans. I'm not trying to get us cancelled, like Savi's with the Carlos fans. So I'm trying to defend him here. So because I've got a sister who loves Carlos and I don't want to get hit. So sorry.
Right. As someone who dearly loves Lewis, and he's one of the drivers that brought me into the sport, he's been with McLaren and with Mercedes for quite a while. I wouldn't call him a pay-for driver, considering that there's been quite a long period of loyalty with both of those teams. In my humble opinion, my king has stayed for quite a long time at his respective teams. So by all means, if he wants to end his career with Ferrari for the next 10 seasons, I am here. And I'm waiting for that 8th championship. Very patiently, might I add. Please and thank you whenever you're ready.
Okay, also, I want to add that I did mention at the very beginning that Lewis had made several jumps. Also, again, you can afford to do that when you're Lewis Hamilton. Unfortunately, and as we've just seen after the Singapore Grand Prix, before the Austin Grand Prix, you can't afford to do that when you're Daniel Ricciardo.
Well, we saw as well this weekend that VCARB is going to Racing Bulls. So if they're basically losing that sponsor, it means that Daniel Ricciardo definitely has some leverage into that.
Sorry to the Ferrari fans out there because it's Ferrari, but do we really think Lewis is going to get a championship? Because it's Ferrari, and Ferrari have done Ferrari things lately. I mean, poor Sav has dealt with it with Charles.
Yes, Emma, when I mentioned that I am immune to disappointment, it doesn't mean I'm immune to putting salt into my wounds, please. Because we know how Ferrari is, but that doesn't mean you will cancel them like that, please. Oh my God.
So the thing is, we have 1, 2, 3 Ferrari fans here currently, and then coming up with a 4th one with myself next year, considering Lewis will be there. And I cannot wait to worship that team. Howewe're not going to talk about the past of Ferrari. We're going to focus on the slight present, because they've been doing decently well, and the future, most importantly, the future.
Also, Michael Schumacher raced for Ferrari and McLaren and Mercedes, so I guess he's a pay-per driver as well.
Uh-oh, we've crashed into some wrong information. When I said Michael Schumacher drove for McLaren, I meant Benetton. Thank you.
This season, we have undergone a bunch of grid changes with the subtraction of the American hero, who my heart goes out to, Logan Sargent. You are with us. We feel your presence every time someone crashes on the track. I love you. I miss you, Logie Pookie Bear. Please call me, sponsor me, even though you probably don't have any more money. But I do love you and I do support you.
Logan, just to say, the safety car misses you if you're here. We've seen her cry and drink leftover champagne. We miss you very dearly, and the safety car especially the Aston Martin one. We haven't seen her in a while, and now that she's finally back, we're happy she's recovered.
But as the grid has developed, we've seen the subtraction of Logan Sargent from the Williams team. Then we've seen the addition of Franco Colapinto, who was a very welcome surprise to the grid. We have seen Lewis making the move to Ferrari for next year, which shook up the grid before the season even started. Now we have this whole thing with VCARB, soon to be the Racing Bulls, soon to be another name change in a year, and then another name change next year, and then another name change the year after that. They just can't decide on a name. So we saw them drop Danny Ricciardo, pick up Liam Lawson, and I will say this, if I was Liam Lawson, I would be acting the same way, because that man has been in the wings, okay? He has been in the shadows. He is Batman, okay? He has been waiting for his opportunity, and he was like, I did not come here to make friends. I came here to make millions of dollars. So y'all are going to get up out my way, and I respect him for that, honestly. Also, he's dating an American girl from California, which, slay for him. American girls just do it better. So we have Liam Lawson to VCARB.
Cancelled.
We have Liam Lawson to VCARB. We still have I was about to say Yoki Tsunoda.
Hey, Yoki!
We have Liam Lawson.
We are
Let
not
him
Emma's
cook.
friends.
I'm proud to be an American!
An American? No, because results start coming out at 1 a.m. in the morning. So we've seen the addition of Liam Lawson into VCARB, and we have his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who has been at VCARB since the beginning of time, and unfortunately will probably remain there until the end of time, because it does not look like Red Bull is going to be promoting him anytime soon. Now, whether or not that's the right move, I don't know, because there's been two consistents in the Red Bull family these past couple of years, and that Max Verstappen is going to Max Verstappen, and that Yuki Tsunoda is going to be on the junior team. Unfortunately, that seems to be the way that it is. I would love to see Yuki Tsunoda step in and Checo Perez step down or even step out. I wouldn't mind that, but that's just me. I will say, though, that Red Bull has made a couple of mistakes with Sergio Perez. I think that, them not listening to him in Barcelona and then every other race after that, I do think they made a mistake there. But now that Max and him have equal cars, and
Can we
Do the part, RuPaul. Do you want a spoon?
just say that we do have a fellow lover of both Yuki, not a lover, let's try that again. We do have a fan of both Checo Perez and Yuki Tsunoda on our little podcast here, and I believe Emma is having a real battle of the souls here, and I would love to hear what she thinks about these potential changes before we move on to the rest of the grid.
I'm currently in the trenches being a Yuki and even a Checo fan. So, yeah, fun times for me. Kind of being like a Ferrari fan in the trenches all the time.
You had to mention that, Emma, didn't you? You really had to.
I give up because, yeah, not for the faint-hearted. I don't care. Off I pop.
There's nothing I could say to Emma about her drivers that is going to hurt her more than their driving this season has.
I thought you were about to say more than what Helmut Marko has said about them.
He hurts everybody. I feel like my brain just detaches part of itself, falls out of my ear, and walks off. Like, my brain just slowly oozes out. Like, that man, he does not need to be at the Grand Prix anymore. He needs to be at the dining room table, please. I was about to say he needed to be at the dining room table playing dominoes in his local nursing home. Yes, I understand. Okay, I understand that Helmut Marko is very influential. He had an amazing career, but I think it should be had an amazing career, okay? I do not think he should be senior advisor to anything of Red Bull anymore. And I sympathize with Helmut. I really do, because us yappers, we just say what we want. Unfortunately, I think Helmut needs to not. So that's where I'm going to leave that one at. But I do not think any driver deserves hate for their bad driving. It's kind of slayed that you're bad at your job and you get paid millions of dollars.
So true, bestie.
I would also like to be bad at my job and get millions of dollars. So I can't really fault him for that. I think one of the things that we are all waiting for is like the shoe to drop, with the Sauber to Audi, Haas, getting both Hülkenberg and Magnussen back together. Is Bottas or Zhou Guanyu, are they going to have a seat? Are we going to get another F2 driver pulled up? Is Franco Colapinto going to get a seat? Or, more interestingly, I recently heard through the grapevine, can't remember if it was Twitter or Instagram, but there is a rumor that Williams and Red Bull, when they were trying out James Vowell's new coffee sponsor, that it was talked about that Williams would allow Carlos to go to Red Bull and they could keep Franco.
Did Christian Horner say, that's that me espresso?
He said, no, you're thinking about me every night. Oh, but that was James to Carlos.
And then Carlos went, isn't that sweet? I guess so.
And then James's wife said, hey, what the heck are we doing here? She turned on the light.
I would like to chime in on that Franco.
Sarah, yes. Dan, you want to talk about Franco?
Yes. That was a bit too eager. Yes.
Alex, keep that in.
No, please don't keep that in. I know where you live. Now, all of that being said, my favorite rookie of the year, if you will. I'm gonna continue to call him a rookie, even though he's been here for quite a minute. That little Williams to Red Bull move, for the sake of Emma's very weak heart at the moment, I am going to say that it's not necessarily the right call for Franco. I know he's proved himself several times. Let's ignore Brazil for obvious reasons. However, I think Yuki has fought way harder for that seat for so many years. And I would love to see him have a go in a Red Bull for a good season at least. Also, the second thought that comes to mind is that car tends to be a little bit faster than a V-carb and he'll need to be Velcroed to the seat. I want to see that.
So I think Franco Colapinto going to Red Bull would be a disastrous career move.
Who's talking about Franco to Red Bull?
Twitter and Instagram.
Literally, Dan just mentioned it.
No, she was talking about Yuki to Red Bull.
She said that she doesn't think Franco should go to Red Bull because she thinks Yuki should get the seat.
I thought we were talking about Franco staying at Williams and then Carlos going to Red Bull and therefore Yuki not getting the seat.
Well, that's what I was talking about, but she mentioned Franco.
I think that's what Dad was talking about.
But she mentioned Franco.
She's always mentioning Franco because she's Delulu and down bad.
Okay, well, for the sake of what I've already said, let's just pretend she did mention Franco to Red Bull, okay? Because I have opinions on this. I think Franco going to Red Bull would be a very big mistake. And listen, I don't think James is willing to let Carlos go. This is like, okay, again, going back to the guy analogy. So this guy, he has really wanted this girl for so long. He has tried and tried and tried and tried. He slid into her DMs every couple of months like, you still with your boyfriend? And then she says, yes. And he says, you still happy with your boyfriend? And then she says, yes. And then it comes to a point when she's like, no, we broke up. And so James, for a year basically, has been in Carlos Sainz's, James Vowles, Williams team principal, has been in Carlos's DMs and in his walls, apparently.
For legal reasons, we would like to say that James Vowles, Williams team's principal, has not been living in Carlos Sainz Jr.'s walls as far as we are aware. These are allegations at best.
Okay, I'll redo that. So James Vowles, the Williams team principal, okay, he just gives me off that energy because he has been chasing Carlos Sainz Jr. for over a year, okay? And so he finally has him. Okay, I do not think he is about to fumble this year-long situationship that he has finally put in the bag for this new hot piece that's just walked onto his Instagram For You Explore page. Okay.
Is Carlos an Instagram baddie in this analogy?
No, Carlos is the girl he wants. Franco is the Instagram baddie.
So James doesn't want an Instagram baddie?
James wants Carlos. But, okay, I feel like it's like guys want whatever some guys, that is a generalization. Guys, please do not cancel me for an all guys. What I'm saying is I do not think that James Vowles is going to let Carlos go as easily as he would be willing to let Franco go because he really put in the work to Carlos. Okay, Franco is just someone who's popped up, someone who's new and hot and exciting and fresh. Everything that, like, let's say a new Instagram baddie would be. But Carlos is the real deal. So I think, if anything, Franco would be the one that they released to Red Bull. And I think that would be a mistake because Red Bull eats up their drivers. They eat them up, they suck the bone dry, they throw the bone back, and it goes into a graveyard. I mean, they've done it with so many people.
So James Vowles, basically. Yeah. James Vowles wants a Smith who can make a car from scratch, basically. Which is Carlos for him.
And look, listen, I'm not saying that Williams can't do it, okay? I'm not saying that anyone can't do it. I like it when they do try to do it. What I am saying...
Do you want to define what it is in this scenario?
Okay, hold on.
Oh, she got the giggies.
I feel like Emma is so done. She's ready to go to bed. Look at the poor thing.
I'm saying that's why I'm getting the giggies, because I've been up for so long. I'm not saying that Williams can't come back to win the World Drivers' Championship, okay? I don't think there is a single team on the grid that doesn't have the opportunity with the right car and the right driver to win the World Driver Championship. So I think James Vowles feels like he has the best chance with Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately for Carlos, he will not get to experience that with Ferrari. And I do feel like a Ferrari championship is coming up.
I'm very excited to see Carlos go to Williams. I think it's a great move for him. I think it's probably one of the better moves he could have made considering the seats that are available at the time. Obviously, everyone was excited. We went through that months and months where we were just waiting to be told what he was doing. And I'm really pleased with the Williams choice.
Yeah, me too, actually. It's good to see what a very experienced driver can do with a Williams car. I'm not saying that Alex and Franco are bad. They're really good. But someone with the caliber of Carlos in a Williams car, that's something that is really exciting for me and I would love to watch.
And that car they built last year in a straight line was unbelievably quick. It just, unfortunately for a car, couldn't go around corners. So if they can, get it right, we could be in for a car that can go both forward and round bends.
Unfortunately, the car couldn't do half the things a car was supposed to do, but if they could get the car to do what a car is supposed to do, maybe they could drive the car. Which is what a car is supposed to do.
You're so right, bestie.
Have the Williams mechanics tried to do that?
Have they considered putting wheels on the car?
Have they considered a small penthouse in Monaco?
May I please make a request that we do not so openly make fun of the Williams mechanics because they just had a horrible weekend and they're going to need to put together
They had a tough time.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to mention, guys. Please feel for them. They had a really bad weekend.
Like I said, I'm going to start a GoFundMe.
Please feel for me and Franco.
For you!
And Franco to get...
If y'all are ever in London, hit us up. We'll go to
I'll take you to Champneys.
to my protein store.
We'll find the best mate for you, my guy. Just hit us up.
We could go to M&M World. We could go to the Lego store.
I forgot what their sponsors were. I was about to say Chipotle, but that's Haas. I couldn't say I would take you to Chipotle.
We could go see the Duracell bunny.
We're going to find you some mate. We'll do our best to find the best one.
Let me just Google Williams sponsors.
We can actually make it for him. We just said we have non-alcoholic beverages in the Monaco penthouse. So we have mate as one of the options.
They've got Lavazza coffee. We could make you a lovely cup of Lavazza coffee.
I don't even know who that is.
They've got something called Omp.
Lavazza is really tasty, by the way.
Hey, I got some oomph too.
Lavazza, if you want to sponsor us, hit us up. We're heavy coffee drinkers here.
Deloitte Ventures. We could start a hedge fund.
Oh my gosh, y'all, do not even bring them up. Every person who's just graduated college in America, they just pop their head up and
go work for Deloitte.
Let's not bring up America tonight.
Okay, so on the topic of Williams sponsors, with them having these little sponsors, how can they afford Carlos? I really want to know. But we'll leave that topic for the next podcast episode. So, those have been the main changes to the grid. Just to recap, at the beginning of the season, we had Lewis to Ferrari, the announcement that he will be switching in 2025. We had Carlos make his announcement for Williams. We had Williams drop Logan Sargent and go with Franco Colapinto for the rest of the season. We had VCARB drop Daniel Ricciardo, pick up Liam Lawson, announce that they are going to let Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda battle it out for the potential to be in a Red Bull seat. That is what we have had so far.
Can I just say, and this can get cut out, but while Sav wasn't breaking up at all, I was praying to my Taylor Swift Eras Tour canvas, and it worked. Because she's a re-recording queen. So if I hear any more Taylor slander during this podcast, no matter what reference I make, I know where all of you live slowly. The only address that I don't have clearly yet is Imane.
Emma, you're the admin this week, so you can just mute people whenever you want.
I swear to God.
Taylor Nation, sponsor us, please.
Now, finally, we're going to go into a different area of the feeder series. We're going to go into F1 Academy with our favourite Becca, because she's amazing. Hype her up. F1 Academy is very not talked about much from what I can see, and hopefully we can bring some more voices to F1 Academy, hopefully. So Becca, it's now on to you.
So yeah, obviously we're girls, we're interested in motorsport, we'd love to see more girls in motorsport. And that was the entire intention of the F1 Academy. It was announced in 2022. We've had several women-only leagues previously. We had the W Series, there was Formula Women beforehand. And the first season of the F1 Academy was run in 2023. It was won by Marta Garcia of Prema, and she was given a contract with Freca, the former regional European championship by Alpine. She is racing with the Iron Dames, but has actually just finished her season there at Monza. And on Instagram, she called that her last race in single-seater. So even though the intention of the F1 Academy was to bring more women into the higher leagues of single-seater motorsport, it hasn't really been very successful so far. Just a little bit about how the structure of the F1 Academy works. There are 5 teams within the F1 Academy: Prema, MP, Rodan, Art and Campos. If you are familiar with the lower leagues of motorsport, F2, F3, you might be familiar with some of those teams. You are a woman, 16 to 25 years old, and you can spend a maximum of 2 years in the series. Each of the Formula One teams has sponsored a driver in the series, and there are other sponsors involved as well, such as the cute little Charlotte Tilbury car. That's my favourite. Formula One Academy is a spec series. They use very, very similar cars to the standard F4 car. They use a similar chassis. It's a Tartus F4 T421 chassis, which is the same chassis used in a lot of F4 series, just slightly modified, and they have a similar horsepower engine. The thing that gets me is Max Verstappen especially has been a bit vocal about this and said that these women need to be given faster cars. The cars are too slow compared to those used in F1, 2 and 3, and that's not acting as a development league when these women aren't actually being given any form of competitive edge. They're not getting used to the feeling of a car going the speeds that an F1, F2, F3 car is. So I pulled a little bit of data, been a bit of a nerd about it, pulled a little bit of data. In Barcelona this year, the fastest lap at the F1 Academy race was by Chloe Chambers. She did it in 1 minute 42.942 seconds. The Barcelona F3 fastest lap was 1 minute 31.970, so a full 11 seconds faster than the F1 Academy lap. F4 are due to race in Barcelona this weekend, so we will get to directly compare how the F1 Academy cars do to the F4 cars, which is they're supposed to be kind of similar. The other thing that I really want to bring up is Bruno Michael, who is the F3 boss. He has said he thinks it's a little bit too early to bring drivers from the F1 Academy into F3, but I don't think anyone's ever had a problem with bringing drivers from F4 into F3. That's the whole point. So why are we holding back women in a so-called F4 equivalent series from moving into F3? Love to know what you girls think.
I mean, the entire point of F1 Academy, right, is to support these women and give them what they need to basically move to other, other sports like F3, F2, and why not F1, right? So what is hindering them from pushing them towards these branches if the purpose of it is basically giving them what they need to step up to F3 and F2? So what's bothering me is, as you mentioned, since it's an equivalent thing to F4, the main question is, what is stopping them from doing that? Like, what is missing? We all need to know, we all need answers to that. What is missing for these young talents to be pushed into F3?
I don't think there's anything wrong with going from F4 to Freca. I think that's a perfectly legitimate move. But why Marta, the F1 Academy champion, essentially an F4 champion, has just been dropped completely from single-seater motorsport? She's a very talented driver. So why do we keep passing up over these very talented women? It'll never make sense to me.
So one thing that I feel like happens in a competitive sport like motor racing, men or boys specifically are the male gender, really. They are given more grace than women, female, girl racers ever are. Because if we look at Marta's race results, she did not have a great season. She didn't end up in the points. I think she ended up 28th. She ended up low. I know that. And I know she didn't end up in the points. But if you look at someone like, let's say, Ollie Bierman or Kimi Antonelli, they also didn't have good cars this season. They also were not high up in the F2 standings, but then they were still able to make the leap from F2 to F1. I feel like she is being punished for the kind of car that she has when, and maybe it's different. I don't have an example to pull from, let's say, F4 to F3 or F3 to F2. I only have those two right now because it's, it's a fresh topic. But I think men are given much more grace than females are. Like, she was only allowed to have this one bad season, and now she doesn't get another season again. That's how I feel.
I'm just going to say, I think going on from what Sav said, for Kimi Antonelli, didn't he jump F3? He didn't do F3, did he? He went straight into F2. And he's done a season in F2 and he's gone into F1. So, I mean, I haven't really watched F2, so I don't know how he's driving, so I can't comment on that. But if you want to talk about how it's jumping up and how easy it is, obviously he's had the backing of Mercedes. Obviously, I know with F1 Academy, teams are sponsoring. I know Ferrari are sponsoring, Red Bull, Sauber, I believe, as well as Mercedes. I could be wrong. All of them, okay. Obviously, it feels like they're not having that big backing. Other than, to be fair, I can't say all. Like, obviously, we hear a few of the F1 Academy's names pop up. Bianca, Jess, I believe her name. So obviously, we hear about them, but why are they not coming up into F3, F2? Because we've got, one female in F3? Sophia Flourish? Or is she in F2 now? Sorry, because I don't watch. So she's still in F3, so why is there not backing for them? They're trying to prove their worth. And they can't just continuing to stay, as what Becca said, they're in F1 Academy for 2 seasons, which is unfair because they're not getting that support to go into F3 or F2 if they make that big jump. And you see some of the women have come out and gone into like the different series, and it is sad to see. And they're trying to prove their worth every single day or every single race they're doing. And without the backing that they need and the support that they need, it's sad to see. And I do want to see a woman in F1 eventually again, because when was the last time we had that? As not even, they've, I think, a couple of races. Like, I want to see them in a full season. And we need to start seeing people talk about to bring them up in F3, because they've started somewhere and they're not getting anywhere and they're trying to claw their way out of the bag. And yeah, it's quite disappointing to see. Obviously, from my perspective, I mean, I don't really watch F2 and F3, but I've slowly started to watch F2, and I do eventually want to see more women come up and do their best, which they are. And hopefully one day we will see a woman in F1.
Okay, so I believe the last woman in Formula One, like as an actual full-time race car driver, was Imane, and her name's Italian, so it's Giovanna Imane, or maybe Imane. It was in 1992, but we did get Susie Wolff in 2014 to test drive for Mercedes. I want to say it was the German Grand Prix. Yeah, it was July of 2014. She did the free practice test session 1. But also, even just talking about people who have bad seasons, them not being able to get seats. I mean, look at Abby Pulling. Okay, she has, right now, she is almost 100 points above her closest competitor. Okay, she is number 1 in F1 Academy. She has 245 points. So this does mean she will have a fully funded seat for next year. But also, it's like, she should be, since she's dominating and she is so much higher above everybody else, I feel like she should have other opportunities. She shouldn't just have to take the only seat that is available to her. I feel like she should be able to move into F3 and F2 and F1. Like, she shows potential. And so I feel like she shouldn't just be capped at that one spot. You know, so even when they're good drivers, even when they're great drivers, amazing drivers, women are still not getting the opportunities that men are. And that's the issue.
I mean, if we're going to talk about women having the potential for F1, we need to talk about Jess Hawkins. She was the woman who did the test for Aston Martin. And if you look at how much press coverage a woman doing a test for a Formula One team got, it's insane that teams are getting praise in that way for giving a woman a test run when she has the talent to be in a single-seater race car. If she's good enough to test, she's good enough for F2. She's definitely good enough for F3. Also, I'm just looking at her Wikipedia page. She holds the record for 0 to 100 miles an hour on a lawnmower. So we should have her in Formula One just as an absolute legend.
Put her in a stake.
Jess Hawkins for the second Red Bull seat. That's my vault. God damn.
This is my firm belief, even when it comes to F1 or generally any of the motorsport categories that we've seen in the formulas. If you want to see how good your driver is, put them in an absolute tractor. Just put them in the lowest end car that's currently on the grid.
Put him in a stake.
Put him in a stake. Sorry, but put him in a stake. Joe, we love you. Bottas, you're one of my faves. But put them in a stake. Compared to the 2024 season, I want to see how successfully they can drive that car across the line compared to, let's say, the fastest lap that we've seen at that race for that season or for that particular year. But more so, F1 Academy, going back to that point, it was supposed for it to have started as a structured, solid foundation for young female drivers to get slowly but surely into F1. The fact that it's become quite a consistent program with focused training, with a competitive environment, with very professional level support behind it, I don't understand where that gap still lies and what else someone needs to do for this particular sport for it to actually bridge the gap into F3 or even F2 at this rate. It doesn't make any sense to me. I understand that those vehicles come with their unique challenges and that in terms of racecraft, they're a tiny bit different. I do get that. That's an easily fixable solution from my perspective.
But that's the entire point, right? Exactly. That's the entire point. Like, they develop them, they support them so they can put them in better cars. So they give them basically the foundation for them to jump into other cars. So even if it's slightly different, right? They should be giving them the support needed so they can jump into other categories, as you said, because what's the point of telling like a driver, oh, come drive for 2 seasons and then guess what, you have no future with us. It's just like going to a company and telling them, oh, you know what, we're not going to give you a contract, you work with us for like probation and then it's TBC, we'll see what we do with you. So these people are just going to come. They're not going to come for fun. They need a future in this because none of the other series is going to give them a contract, let's say, or like give them something that is sure they're going to keep forever. So if we do not basically support them enough or at least give them some basis on what they should be doing to jump into other series, then what's the point of the entire concept, right?
I feel like at this point, the men who run this sport, the people, have shown that they need to have this sort of thing pushed on them. I feel like we need to start as the FIA, as the F1 Academy, getting a little bit more elbowsy, because when Sophia Flourish said that this is just pink washing a series and putting women in a box, in a corner, I think at this point she might well be right. Because these women aren't going anywhere except staying in the F1 Academy for 2 seasons and then being sent away.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, we need people to talk more about this. Like, as you have just said, Max is the only one who is vocal about this. Which is right. We all know how vocal Max is and we know how he doesn't care about anything. And he basically speaks his mind, which is right. But we need more people in the sport to talk about this because any one of them could be in the same position, like any of these drivers. And specifically drivers who lost their seats. They know how cut through the sport is. So if they speak about other people who are pretty much in the same situation, it's going to give more highlights into it. It's going to shed more lights into it so people can actually focus on how to develop it even more. Yes, thank you, Susie. Thank you, everyone who established this. But we need a little bit of a push. We need something more so we can actually understand what these drivers are standing on and what their future is holding for them.
So yeah, just in summary, I think clearly the intentions behind the F1 Academy and the push to get more women in motorsports are worthy and we support them. But until a more active effort is taken to help women get into the higher formulas, we're not going to see any movement for a while. I think people have shown too much resistance at this point. So it'd be really interesting to see whether or not anyone picks up this cause who has any form of influence. I think if a Susie Wolff or Lewis has shown a lot of support behind this, he was the one who got the push to get all the teams to sponsor a driver in the F1 Academy. I think if one of them made a really big push, we might be able to see some movement here. So that's the end of episode 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at A Polite Notice Pod. See you next time. Bye-bye.
This has been episode 2 of a Polite Notice podcast, a Polite Notice production, hosted by Daniela Stan, Emma Cheshire, Imane Morabet, Rebecca Jones and Savannah Lenz. Research by Eleana Cheshire, and audio editing and technical production by Alex Vasile.
I feel like this is getting cut, right?